So the second part to this little catch-up is the 29th overall season in 2005, and that was Sentai, Magiranger. So I guess just right into the things that I liked and the things that kind of threw me off. So we're back to an all siblings sort of a dynamic, and I really kind of start to enjoy this dynamic because they can pull more from their history together, and now they can grow together. There's a subplot between a presumed dead mother, and they're trying to get their father back, and all that stuff. And the fact that they're all siblings really helps it all. It gives it a purpose, and it grounds that subplot a lot more, and I feel like it does pretty well. Oh, and the thing about it is, compared to Go-Go 5, the previous all-sibling Ranger team that I watched, with Go-Go 5, they were all working adults. They were all in their profession. With this, half of them were still kids. Half of them were still in school. So, you pair that with having to teenage angst and stuff like that, and having to, how they all dealt with each other. And so in a similar way that, I was looking forward to Magiranger and Hurricaneger because of a Ninja episode. For whatever reason, Ninja actually has a very small reference to Magiranger, and that's because Tsubasa Maggiello makes an appearance. And I also know that the actor plays a different Ranger in Go Buster, and I don't know, I thought that this actor was a lot of fun. He played his roles well. So it's just kind of weird seeing him so young. I think at the time of production, I think it was still 19, so technically he was still a teenager. And so he just seeing him and his hair is just he's just so baby faced. It was just funny seeing him that way. Speaking of appearances, I guess, the actress who plays Witch Pandora all the way from Magiranger makes an appearance, not as Witch Pandora, but as Heavenly Arch Saint Magiel, and she has a really distinct voice. Sadly, this is the last role she would play as she passes away, I think a year later. And something sweet that they did in Power Rangers is that when they used this footage of her appearance, they changed it so that she essentially reprised her role as Witch Pandora, or in the case of Power Rangers, Rita Repulsa. And they dubbed over it, but it was kind of sweet that they I guess adapted it that way, just as a tribute to her. So they were without a mentor for quite a while. So for half of the season, until Magishine, or the Gold Ranger, shows up, they're pretty much figuring everything out on their own. They only have Mandora Boy, or Mandrake, to really guide them through everything, and just kind of say, oh, here's the books, here's normally what this person does, this is what this person's role is, and they'll have to kind of stumble through and figure it out together. But I just kind of thought I don't know why it stuck out to me. It was apparent enough where it stuck out to me, because I did have a small introduction to it from Gokaiger. I thought that the spirits, or I guess as it's referenced, the Heavenly Saint avatars, would be utilized a lot more in Gokaiger. Kai is able to conjure up fire, but then he's asking his Heavenly Saint avatar, which looks like the big fire spirit beast thing that shows up when he morphs. I thought they were going to have more control over that, simply because I saw it in that episode. they don't use it in Power Rangers, but you do see them when they morph also. And I thought it was going to be one of those things like, oh, they'll definitely use that more in the Super Sentai, but I didn't see any of it. Like, it's just that overlay. So I thought they were going to have more power over it. Maybe it's addressed in the movie, since they are semi-canon, so we'll see. But it was kind of, I wasn't expecting it to be a thing. Going into this season, I thought it was going to have more of a school setting, so yes, like a Harry Potter setting, mostly because in Ninja, Magiranger takes the daughter of a headmaster back to England because one of the rangers in Ninja is Magillo's student. So that is kind of why I thought I was going to have like a school setting for all this. It does kind of do an interesting thing where it kind of plays on like folk tales and legends and urban legends, because how they get an idea of, is there a monster on the loose? Is that they have a system that tells them of like what people are reporting and writing about, not like an internet, but like as if it's an oral history, like an urban legend. So I thought that was something that was actually kind of cool. I mean, they only do it in like the first few episodes and kind of sprinkled throughout, but I thought how they addressed it and kind of made it stick to its theming with like magic and mythology and stuff like that. It turned out pretty well. So this is also the first one that has like a fun dance as an ending. I mean, everything before it had the music was fine, but this is the first one where I really kind of noticed that they have like a fun dance that the cast does. And Operanger kind of has it, but that's mostly performed by the Chinoids or the grunts. And technically Ranger also has it, but again, it's mostly done by the grunts. So I wouldn't really count those, but this is the first one that I've encountered where, the cast gets to do a fun dance, and I don't know, it's pretty fun, pretty catchy. I guess just into my favorite episode, and that was episode or stage 28, Eternally. So in this episode, Tsubasa is running through the woods, and he encounters a girl who's singing a beautiful song. He goes back to the house with everyone else, and they're just kind of talking. I think they mentioned reports of a siren who is singing songs, and what a siren does is it sings a song and it lures its victims with its voice. And Tsubasa sees a magazine article because his sister Hoka Maji Pink was in the magazine because she had like a modeling gig, and then on either the cover or like one of the big main articles was the fact that K-pop is that an idol recently died, and lo and behold, it's the girl that he ran into when he was running. So they make it a point to try to find the girl before there's any more victims. It turns out that she was being manipulated by one of the villains, or in this case a Hades beast, into doing the singing for that beast because the beast lost its voice, or it lost its singing voice, so it manipulated her into doing its dirty work. Tsubasa finds the girl, and they share a sweet moment together. I think he says something like, I want to hear your song. He knows that he's not being manipulated by her voice because she's taking on the role of a siren. he actually wants to hear her. And then, she sings it. There's like a little music video section in this episode of her singing the song and her being with Tsubasa. And, she says the line like, they're kind of, close together, and she just finished singing the song, and she just says something like, I wish time could stop here. Him, her, and everyone else knows that they're gonna have to say goodbye because, she's dead. She has to move on to the afterlife or whatever. So then, typical Super Sentai Monster of the Week stuff ensues, and there's a big fight, and she gets swallowed by the actual Hades beast siren monster, and with Tsubasa's will and courage and stuff like that, he manages to conjure up a new power that releases the girl from the grasp of the siren Hades beast. So when that's all over, they share one last moment. It was a pretty sad and heartfelt moment, and the song that she sings is playing in the background. They hug, and she says, "I'm so glad that the last time I sung a song was for you." She disintegrates because in like spirit, light energy, and Tsubasa is just heartbroken, and it's just, and everyone else is in the back watching as he's in pain, kind of like, from what I said about my favorite Car Ranger episode. Not to get too sidetracked, but apparently this is one of a 5, technically 6-part episode where they are making their own powers and have the potential to become legendary, as Hikaru or Maji-san puts it. And this was Maji Yellow Tsubasa's episode. So if anyone who's been following, I said that I would try to post the Deca Ranger and Magiranger episodes on the same day, that day being today, February 14th, Valentine's Day. And part of it is because I'm trying to actually catch up with the day that I'm supposed to be posting and doing these videos. Another part is the fact that, I watched both of these in July, but the actual part, and I didn't really figure this out until I realized that I was actually 2 days behind, that, both of my favorite episodes for Deca Ranger and Magiranger are romance-based. So, happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, I don't know what to say. That was just it may not have been entertaining in the same way that, the Deca Ranger episode was, but it certainly felt heartfelt. I don't really expect romance to be a significant part of Super Sentai. You'll have like occasional crushes here and there, but with this one there was just heart. Like I said with the last scene where everyone is watching and they kind of hurt for Tsubasa in the same way that the Car Rangers hurt for, Green Racer. And even though the circumstances were different, I just felt like there was a lot of heart in that moment, especially because, they're all siblings, they're all related. Like, sometimes your family is all you got, The song that she sings is actually very pretty, and, I was able to find it and just listen to it, and sometimes my heart hurts for Tsubasa when I listen to it. And the name of the song is, or the translation is, Eternally, just like the episode. Although, when that happened, for some reason, it reminded me of, and it took a while for me to process, it reminded me of in Avatar The Last Airbender, when Sokka and Zuko are trying to bond, and then Sokka says, my girlfriend turned to the moon, And then Zuko's just like, that's rough, buddy. It just kind of reminded me of that scene. Because, you know, man, that's rough. That's rough, buddy. And then, you know, since Ranger and Magiranger, I watched both of them in July. And both of my favorite episodes for these happen to be like romantic kind of episodes or like centered around love. And I'm just like, what happened to me in July where I was feeling vulnerable? Like, what happened to me? Like, who broke my heart? But I don't know. Probably just coincidence.